Okay then, this is my JATO 3.3. Shows it on the side. I'm gonna go ahead and get into the inside, show you all the inside underneath the body. Well, some people call it a body, some people call it a canopy. I usually call it a canopy because it technically is. I mean, it's just like a plastic covering that goes over the top of all of this. But yeah, hell yeah. Take that off. I actually recently just added a new feature that no JATO comes with this. You have to put it on yourself. You have to have a power drill too, but I'm not sure if the camera's going to focus it correctly, but I got little LEDs right here and right here, and then there's one right here, right there. Where is it? There it is, right there. Got an LED, and then there's two red ones in the back. There's one right here, and then there's another one right over here. The back ones are red for like, you know, for like the brakes or the back, you know, the tail lights, and then the front ones are white over here, and then the ones on the side are blue. So it's like blue and white LEDs, and then red LEDs in the back. And then there's a little wire right there. Y'all can probably see all the wires and stuff running all through the canopy, and then that little wire hanging out right there. That goes to this piece right here. This little wire right here. This little wire right here goes to the headlights. You plug that in. You have to plug it into the receiver, and the receiver, wherever your receiver is on your car, you take it out. It's like a little bitty plastic box. If you have Traxxas, it'll say like Traxxas Link or all that crap. It'll have like little ports and stuff. Well, you plug in the lights in there, and then you just have this disconnected part right here. It's basically like a like an adapter, and then you just plug the two in. And like, let's say it's daylight outside, and you're not wanting to have the headlights on during the day because you don't need them, and you want to disconnect them so you don't run your battery down on your receiver. You can just disconnect it by this part right here. But yeah, that's to everyone that knows about nitro cars. For anybody that don't know anything about nitro cars, I'm gonna go ahead and get into some of the things that go into a nitro car, and so that way other people that might be interested in buying one will know, you know, a little bit more about it before they buy the actual car. So you'll know a little bit about. Now each car is slightly different. They're basically the same concept, but some are a little bit different. Different layout, like the you know, parts and everything are a different layout. So, but and it's a friend texting me. But okay, well, this part right here is like the shock tower. It's basically for the suspension, so that way when you're hitting bumps and stuff, the car will jump. You know, so you drop it and it bounces. You can adjust the shocks, the suspension, to however, you know, how tight you want the tension to be. If you set them too tight though, like if you draw it all the way down to the bottom and you make them too tight, it won't bounce at all, and it can actually damage certain parts in here, because it has to be able to ride fluidly. Like, it has to be able to bounce and ride, you know, real gently. When it hits when I hit bumps, because I have mine set perfect for the area where I drive mine's set perfect. Whenever it drives and it hits a rock, just the side wheel will pick up. That's it. The whole rest of the car doesn't even move. I have it set perfectly. The back, the front, everything. So if it rolls over a rock, it will. Now, it's not going to really work right now as good because it's not picking up speed. But as you can see, it's not even lifting most of the car. All it is just lifting this wheel. It lifts it up. It lifts that wheel up, so that way it can go over the bump. And so when it rolls over my finger, as you can tell, the whole car ain't, you know. And I'll push it on my back, so that way y'all don't think I'm pushing it down or something. Look, I'll just push it with the back of my finger. Look, see? The whole car barely lifts up. And I can see, I don't know if y'all can tell, but I can see the shocks pushing up. You can see the spring going up and down. But yeah, I got mine set perfectly, so when I go over rocks and stuff, it won't be like, you know, vibrating real bad, and it could, you know, damage some of the parts inside here. Now, it is a really tough truck. These are off-road. These are designed to be rugged for going over, you know, big rocks and climbing dirt and stuff like that. They're designed to be tough. And as you can tell, mine's filthy. I mean, it's real dirty in the back. Got dirt all over it. I've driven it in the dirt several times. Now, I just recently bought some brand new rims or some new wheels, and I don't really want to screw them up. Plus, I'm thinking about buying a new one of these because this one's all banged up and dirty and everything. It's filthy. So, thinking about replacing that pretty soon. Getting a new one and then just spray painting it. Get a clear, like one that's just plain clear, and then spray paint over it and put my own designs and stuff on it. But, anyways, the main thing that you got to know about these when you're a beginner is basically the break-in cycle. When you first buy one, if you buy one that's like it'll say RTR, which means ready to run, that means that it's got everything in the box that you need to run your car. Now, in some cases they don't come with fuel. You have to buy the fuel separate. But every part in here is put in here ready to run. So you don't have to buy any new parts. You don't have to buy an engine. You don't have to buy an exhaust pipe. You don't have to buy a fuel tank or any of that stuff. It all comes already in here. The only thing that you need is fuel. That's usually it. But after you purchased it, you have to break in the engine. If you do not break in the engine and you don't follow the instructions like I did when I first bought this, I was new. I was a beginner. And I didn't know much of anything about it. So I just wanted to get there and just drive it. That's all I wanted to do is just get it out there and just drive it right away. I wanted to have some fun. And I thought the break-in cycle wasn't really important. I didn't think, you know, anything of it. So when I first got it, it only lasted me 1.5 gallon of fuel. Now that may sound like a lot because it's a tiny car, and the fuel tank only holds like an ounce of fuel. But that goes by pretty quick because the car only lasts about 15 minutes per tank. So yeah, I went through the engine pretty quick. This last engine that I got lasted me about 4 gallons, and this one is brand new. I just bought this one this Monday, which today is Thursday. So I bought it about 3 days ago, and I just broke in the new engine yesterday. You have to go through the break-in cycle. If you don't follow the break-in cycle, you might as well just steal the thing. That's what one of my friends posted on Google+. I was asking them questions on the blog and asking them, you know, what should I do and everything. And they said if you don't break in the engine, you might as well just steal it, or you might as well just buy a pre-owned engine, you know, because you're basically gonna shorten the engine life to a point where you're not gonna have hardly any runtime. Plus, the engine will stall more. The engine will shut off a lot more. If you don't break in the engine correctly, then the engine won't really last but maybe a week or two. That's about how long it lasted me on the first engine I got. Anyway, you have to break in the engine. Now, every car comes with instructions. Now, the only thing is this is a hobby, okay? I'll let everybody know right now, this is a hobby, okay? Hobby means you have to put the work into it. You can't expect, you know, to just buy it and then just keep it in the same shape it's always going to be in. Things are going to break. Things will wear out. Whether you treat it like a lady, I mean, you could treat it like a lady. You treat it real fine, real nice. You don't drive her real tough or anything. You don't go over rocks or anything like that. You just gradually drive her on the street like a regular person. The tires will wear out. The suspension arms will eventually, you know, they'll bounce so many times that they'll eventually end up snapping. If you hit a bump just right where it hits the front of the wheel, like going over a curb or something, and it hits the front of the wheel, it could crush and bend these suspension rods or the suspension shoulders, arms, whatever you want to call them. These pieces right here, this plastic piece, if you break those, they're only a few dollars. I think you could buy a pack that comes with like, I think like 2 of them for like $5, something like that. They're real easy. They're really easy to replace and they're really cheap. I've actually modded mine a couple times. I've got a couple extra modifications. Plus, I just bought me a brand new chassis. It's still great condition, no scratches, no dirt. Well, it's got a little bit of oil and dirt on it, but it's practically brand new. I just bought it like a few months back. And I had to buy a new receiver too. My receiver got wet. My brother ran it through water and ruined it. But this is a brand new engine. So this engine right here, as long as I take good care of her, I don't let her overheat. That's another thing. You have to keep the fuel rich, which if you don't know what that is, it'll show on the video, the instructional video. But there's a little needle right here. It's like a little needle right here. Not sure if y'all can see that very good because the air filter's in the way. There it goes. I'll try to point at it right here. This part right here, right behind the air filter, there's a little needle, and you have to adjust that. Every single time you go out and drive her, you have to adjust that because sometimes the vibration of the engine and everything will kind of make the knobs turn, and so it might throw off the alignment of the needle. And so you basically have to adjust that perfectly every single time you want to go out and drive her. Now the Traxxas 3.3 engine is a little finicky. They can be a little finicky. They can be kind of hard to tune at times, especially if the engine life is getting a little older. It can be a little bit harder to adjust, a little bit harder to adjust the tuning and everything. But you have to keep her really rich. So basically you turn like lefty-loosey, like you would with anything, lefty-loosey, it loosens it. When you loosen it, that's richening your fuel. When you turn it right, when you turn it to the right, then you're thickening. I mean, you're leaning out the fuel. If you make the fuel too lean, it makes the engine get hot quicker. It might make her go a little bit faster because making the engine move faster might make her go quicker, but it's going to run the engine quicker. So let's say you want to make her go a whole lot faster. Well, yeah, you can make her go faster, but you could run the engine a lot quicker. So you wear out the piston or the piston sleeve inside there, it's not going to build suction. And if it can't get suction, it can't suck the fuel through the engine to get it moving. And so if you do run her too lean, your engine might only last you a gallon or two of fuel. If you run her real rich and you get a temperature gun, which I don't have right now, it's in my toolbox, but it's like a little brown, well actually it just depends on where you get it, but mine's brown. It's like a temperature gun. You aim it at the engine and it'll show what the temperature of the engine is. If you let her get past 265, I know it says in instructions 270, you're supposed to stop her and let her cool. I would actually say around 265 just to be on the safe side. Don't let her overheat. If she reaches 265, shut her off and let her cool down. Now, it usually only takes about 5 minutes for it to cool down, back down to the temperature that it is wherever you're at. But you got to make sure that you keep the engine at a cool temperature, otherwise it'll run it. But that's pretty much it. The brakes, my brakes are starting to wear out right now. The pad is still in good condition, but I think I got oil all over it because a while back my exhaust broke, and so I had to take the exhaust completely off. So it had a lot of oil and stuff spraying out, getting all over the wheel, the axle, and the brakes and all that crap. So I had to replace that pretty quickly. But yeah, I think I'm definitely gonna have to replace my brakes pretty soon. But yeah, I mean, that's just a little tutorial about some of the parts of the engine, but I'm just basically telling anybody that's a new buyer, anybody that's don't know anything about them but just now starting to buy one, I'm just giving you all a little bit of instructions on how to run one. I will do a couple extra videos later on how to to tune it. I'll do some tutorials on how how to install certain parts. Like y'all can send me comments or whatever and ask me if y'all need if y'all want me to make a tutorial. Like let's say y'all want to ask me how to install a fuel tank. Just put it in the comments and I'll try to do a tutorial for that or whatever. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. I don't have the batteries inside the receiver right now. So I can do that on the next video because this video is already running for 14 minutes already. So, but yeah, I can show y'all the headlights and taillights and everything in my next video. But please subscribe and like my video. And I guess that's pretty much it, people. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.